Welcome everyone to Meditation Mount. And there are still a few more cars coming. As you know, we've had some traffic issues in the area. It takes time to get here, but it's worth it. So what I'd like to do is to not only welcome you, but also say a little bit about the full moons that we have here. So we not only just gathered in the auditorium, we have a number of people around the world in different time zones joining us online, which is wonderful because it's a global family. This is a global meditation. So there are 12 of these zodiacal signs each year, and we meet every month for a meditation. And one way of looking at that is imagine ourselves inside this 12-sided building called the cosmos. And each of the sides is a glass that is colored, has its own symbols on it, represents one of the constellations. So every time the light of the cosmos shines through a different window, it conditions the field differently. It creates different qualities, different opportunities, different challenges. And so we're in Libra at the moment, even though the full moon is in Aries, because it's always opposite. So when we think of Libra, the characteristics of Libra are choice and equilibrium. This is the big choice point. And equilibrium is the dynamic balance between the pairs of opposites. And as we'll be exploring in a moment, the keynote of Libra is, I choose the way that lies between the two great lines of force. So how do we navigate through the poles? How do we navigate through the duality? How do we not bypass it, ignore it, but how do we find that higher middle path that leads us to a point of synthesis where both are contained? I mean, that's the trick. And the other thing is that when we gather here together, we are part of a global meditation. There are millions of people around the world gathered at this time to be open to receiving, if you like, the light from the deeper dimensions, and also those deeper dimensions live inside of us. And what we're attempting to do is to align ourselves with the deepest possible note of purpose so that our lives can ring true, that our lives can resonate to that note of purpose, and that we simply sound that note and live that note in our daily lives. And in Libra, we have this wonderful opportunity of understanding what it means to make a choice and what it means to be in equilibrium. And so there are still people arriving, so please find your seat and we'll... One of the ways of creating a field is to create a field of resonance with music. And we're blessed to have Kelly Jean, who regularly holds sound meditations here at the Mount and is a member of the staff. She's our program manager. Kelly Jean will be creating a, if you like, a tonal interpretation of the qualities of Libra. And then when she's complete, Diana Lang and I will lead us in the meditation. It's that simple. And the invitation is that when Kelly Jean is playing, it's not a performance, even though it's fun to watch her perform. It really is a meditation. So the invitation is to close your eyes and to allow the music to convey to you the qualities, the characteristics, the opportunities of the constellation and the solar sign of Libra. So Kelly Jean. Thank you. Listening to that, I could feel the movement between the two and then the movement upwards. And the word that came was that the choice is the choice to aspire. Then I thought of a temple or a church or a cathedral where it has a spire on it. And the spire is two lines that start on the earth that are divergent. They meet at a point of synthesis in the heavens. And from an artistic point of view, it's like the vanishing point into the cosmos. I hadn't thought of that before, but that's what came to me as I was listening to the interpretation of Libra, which is very powerful. So I welcome you all again, and also those who have just joined us online. We're here to meditate together as part of a planetary invocation. Because what we do when we meditate is we receive, we register, and we radiate. And by receiving, registering, and radiating, we're part of this great circulation, what's called the Great Chain of Blessing. So that's one of the ways that we can participate in the deep life of the planet, by being part of its meditative cycle. Because we are part of the planet. We don't just live on the planet. We are invited to live as the planet. So with that resonance that Kelly Jean created, let us just ensure that each of us is at a point of stillness where the physical body is relaxed. And also, I should have mentioned before that all phones are turned off. Just take some deep breaths, some gentle, deep breaths. Bring yourself present. Allow any emotions that could be swirling or rippling the surface to subside. Any thoughts that may be swirling to disappear into the ethers. And then we join each other through the doorway of the heart. So I invite us to stand in the center of our heart and feel in that sacred place the warmth, the light of this fire that burns there, the eternal flame that is the fire of love. It's what all creation has in common, this central fire. So let us connect heart to heart, fire to fire, in this room and with those joining us online and with all of those other groups and individuals around the world at this particular time of meditation. This is our field of community and communion together. I'll say a few words about Libra, in addition to the ones I said earlier. Not as a lecture, as a talk, but as a way of just inviting us to understand the opportunities available in this sign. And then Diana will lead us into the meditation, and then we'll do a blessing for the world after that. So we mentioned that we're in the sun sign of Libra, and the full moon is in Aries. The actual full moon is at 2:57 a.m. tomorrow morning in the Pacific. So that means that we're in this window. A 12-hour window is usually when groups meet around the full moon. You don't normally meet after the full moon, but the 12-hour period leading up to is when you congregate, when we convene. So Libra is an air sign. As you know, we go through fire, earth, water, air. And we do that Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So it would be fire, earth, air, water. And we're in the air sign, so we're starting another cycle of the elements. So Libra is said to promote and support the establishing of right human relationships. And also the ultimate equilibrium between the soul and the personality. To bring ourselves into dynamic poise. And as I mentioned earlier, the gift of Libra is the ability to make clear choices and to achieve that dynamic balance that we call equilibrium. And the spiritual motto associated with this sign is, I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. So the Libra period that we're in now is a wonderful time just to recalibrate, to make sure that we are lined up to our aspirations, making those choices and remaking those choices that keep us in alignment. And the gift of Libra is to help liberate us from the imprisonment of the polarities, because sometimes we get stuck. And the gift is to find that path that leads through them, does not bypass them, but acknowledges them and then takes them to a higher or deeper level where the two meet in synthetic union. So there's a couple of quotes I'd like to give you. One is from Esoteric Astrology by Alice Bailey. But before then, let me just say that equilibrium is a dynamic state of balance held within the heart that is always tensed toward a higher point of synthesis. See, that's how things move. If you think of two things, they suddenly become polarized, and then they become tense. And then there's a great tension between them. And the field can either collapse, or they can just stay there in tension, or they can use that force like a bowstring to launch into something higher and deeper that is a marriage of them both. That's the invitation. So this is the quote from Esoteric Astrology. We like to use some of these quotes because they give us some of the inside information. It's like when you get something in the mail and, before you turn the equipment on, you're supposed to read the instructions and it tells you. Then there's usually a warning label in there, what not to do, and you go, nah. But what the Esoteric Astrology book does, it tells you, hey, this is what you can get out of your equipment. This is what's available. So this is what's available in the sign of Libra. The sign Libra is one of peculiar interest, but in a most paradoxical manner, for much of its interest is based upon the fact that it lacks spectacular interest of any kind. Okay? Except in the case of disciples, and we're talking about seekers, those of us sitting in this room and others who seek to create a better life for ourselves, for the planet. Except for disciples, or those nearing the path, it is a sign of balancing, of careful weighing of values, and of achieving the right equilibrium between the pairs of opposites. It might be regarded as the sign in which the first real vision of the path appears, and of the goal towards which the disciple or seeker must ultimately direct his or her steps. This path is the narrow, razor-edge path which runs between the pairs of opposites, and which, if it is to be safely trodden, requires the development of a sense of values and the power to utilize rightly the balancing, analytical faculty of the mind. And also, Libra is the sign of intuitive perception, so we can go deeper in our understanding. So this whole notion of treading the middle path is the only way out of extremism, of polarity, of divisiveness. And that's what each of us has to come to terms with in our own lives. And it's being mirrored at the moment in everything that's happening in our society, whether you're talking about extremism of weather, extremism of politics, extremism. People take sides. We take sides. And what we're invited to do is to find a path that acknowledges all that is, does not deny, but finds the highest possible expression of both poles. That's really what it means politically to create a more perfect union. And that's what spiritually it means to create a more perfect union, the marriage of our own inner self, our masculine, our feminine, our soul, our personality, the bringing together of the two parts of the one. So this is the gift of Libra. So I mentioned politics. What I want to say here for me is that politics in its purest sense is how we choose to live together and govern ourselves. And at the deepest spiritual level is how we choose to access and harness the sovereign power of our true nature and make those right choices so that we, as the soul, may show up on earth and dwell and gracefully manifest the truth of who we are. I mean, that's the vision. That's the aspiration. At the moment, we're struggling to figure out why we're here. And then, who tells us how we should live our lives? So that really is the whole trip of polarization. It's interesting to note all the issues that are going on in the world at the moment, because Libra has to do with the domain of justice, law, and governance. And that's where all the court cases are going on. That's where all the tension is around the world. Justice, law, and governance. So this is a perfect place to get it together. It may seem overwhelming, but Libra gives us that opportunity. That's why Libra is sometimes called the place of judgment. Not judgment of you're right, you're wrong, but judgment in figuring out the right path. By right, we don't mean right or wrong, we mean the just path. Because justice comes from rightness in the Latin. So we go back to the symbol of Libra. It's a line with another line on top with a little hump on it, a yoke. And those represent the scales. So the scales to weigh out your choices, or the scales of justice. And the traditional image we have of the scales of justice is usually a feminine figure, a woman holding scales, and she's blindfolded. That's to represent that we can only discern the truth with the inner eye, and also represents impartiality. And also, not only the scales in one hand, but a sword in the other. And it's the sword of truth that can only be wielded safely with love. It's not to kill, it's to pierce the darkness and let in the light. Interestingly, in many spiritual traditions, in addition to a feminine figure holding the scales, the archangel Michael holds the scales. Because his sword is there to pierce the darkness, not to slay the dragon. The dragon is the ignorance and the darkness of our own inner world, but to pierce it so that the light can enter and release the light that's locked in it. It's interesting that tomorrow is Michaelmas, the festival of the Archangel Michael. Happens right in Libra. No accidents in the cosmos. And so the full moon in Libra, with justice herself holding the scales, Michael holding the scales, this is a great choice point for us all. So a couple of other things I'd like to say before we move on. As I say, this is not a lecture. I simply want to bring in just characteristics and qualities so that we get a sense of the livingness of this sign. It's all right, we're in Libra. Right, what's Libra? Oh, Libra's equanimity and choice. Okay, right. But so we really understand this is a living field. It's not a conceptual field. Libra is a being, it's a constellation, it's a living organism at a macro level that emanates energies. We're receiving them and utilizing them. Everything else I had written to say, I think I've already said or doesn't need to be said. I'll just give you one more quote. The fact that this sign is ruled esoterically by the planet Uranus provides courage and optimism, because this planet is described in the Ageless Wisdom teachings as the embodiment of the principle of concretion, bringing things into the concrete, and the materializing of that which is in need of objective manifestation through the bringing together of spirit and matter. So the path from separation to greater health and wholeness is one that we as a human family is learning to walk. It's called the middle path in Buddhism, where the polarities converge. Teilhard de Chardin said everything that ascends converges. Once again, it's that point of aspiration, that point where all things meet, the vanishing point into the cosmos. So let me repeat the spiritual motto and then hand over to Diana to lead us into the full moon meditation. So as you listen to this, allow it to get very personal. I choose the way that lies between the two great lines of force. That's the motto of Libra. It could even be a personal prayer. I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks, Michael. He sort of has described the whole circle, of the constellations and of the pulses and rhythms. And I'm teaching a class right now for Meditation Mount called Learn to Meditate. And we're right on that time. What we're learning about is pulses and rhythms, and finding pulses and rhythms in your life. Morning to night, day to day, hour to hour, breath to breath. And so that is part of how you condition the energies that are polarized. And a Libra and Aries are as polarized as, well, they're always polarized, but this particularly, it's cardinal. So it's hot. It's a little more intense, and you might be noticing that. The subjects are, as he said, justice. That's what's happening in our world. What is justice? What is injustice? What is war? What is peace? Right, Aries? War, not only, of course, but Libra, peace. It's the peacemaker. It's the mediator, right? It's the one that comes between. And when we're doing our meditation, we're going to bridge this peace with our own self and with our own energy. And we use this vehicle of ourselves that's trained and trained and trained by sitting and sitting and sitting over and over, that after a while, you start to build this powerful muscle that can go and be present, just like that, by a thought. And that keeps happening more and more as you do it more and more. So some of you have meditated a lot, some of you less, and it doesn't matter, because you start right where you are. The idea that I was thinking of while Michael was talking was the polarities and the spiral and the two opposing points and all of that. And I was thinking about this concept that they use in physics and in psychology too, which is the line, they call it. And so this is A, this is B, this is choice A, this is choice B. And then we argue about the 2 points, right? We go back and forth, and it's called on the plane. It's on the line, this argument of for this, against this, right? We keep it going, and it's such a thing in our culture right now, in our world right now. But of course, the answer is up here, right? So as long as you're on the line, all you can ever do is make these uncomfortable compromises. Maybe, if you're lucky, you get a compromise, but often it will turn to war. So when you raise up the vibration of your own awareness, you can, and so now it's a triangle. Can you feel that? And so now the energy goes up, and there's creative solution in there that's outside the box, in a way, of this linear yes, no, good, bad, pairs of opposites that this world is. This is a world of opposites here in the earth. And so we're going to use our own self like a vehicle to run energy and touch energy, condition our own field, and then offer that healing out. Because this is world service meditation. It's different than personal meditation. It's where you're doing something for the greater good, and you get something, yourself, just by being in it, right? Using yourself that way, kind of offering yourself in service to something greater, for the greater good, for the all. And so it's like a privilege, we get to do that for each other. We can do that for our world. And part of it is to not take a side. Like somehow you have to stand. And so think of another image of the fulcrum and a teeter-totter, right? We're more like the fulcrum than we are the ends. As a meditative group, we can bring peace, we can bring harmony. Libra's all about harmony, right? And Aries is all about independence and the singular note, right? And so they're both happening simultaneously. So there's a lot of me, Aries, and a lot of us, Libra, moving right now. And so we're moving that energy and conditioning that energy, and that's what we're going to do in the meditation. And inside the meditation, we'll have about 10 minutes where there's just silence, and you can just sit inside the container, in a way, of what we're holding together. So if you need to move or something before we go back into the meditation, do that now, and then we'll start. Let's see. Yeah. Good. Nice. We're so happy putting these on the ground, isn't it good? I just really like it, yeah. It's good. Okay. Yeah, and when you're meditating, you don't have to be stiff and rigid. It's like you need to move, just move. It's better to move than hold against it, so you just let yourself relax a little bit so that you can go deeper. Don't resist anything. Okay, here we go. Getting on and getting in to the meditation. Use your breath now. And just organize yourself into this time and space, becoming purely present to this moment, to your heartbeat. Making yourself accustomed to the sounds that are around you and within you. Your own breath. And just quietening the physical body by a breath. And then sense the emotional field of the self. How you've been feeling lately. And all sort of the drama that can be there in feelings sometimes. And you're just letting all that emotion move like water down the hill to the ocean. You let it go. You let it move. Becoming emotionally still. And then finally bringing your attention to the mental field. Thought, right? And then in between the thoughts, there's space. Thought, space, thought, space, thought, space, thought, thought, space, right? And we're opening up the spaciousness of your pure presence. Feeling yourself become more and more still, more and more balanced, in perfect equilibrium. Om. And from the center of your heart chakra, feeling the connection between everyone, all these conscious souls, here and everywhere, all these awakened and awakening ones are popping up everywhere. The world is coming awake. And just heart to heart, heart light to heart light, connect. And feel this world connection of light around the planet. Dedicated to service, dedicated to love, dedicated to the highest good for all. And from the center of the heart, send a line of light like a silver thread that's completely lively, that moves from the heart to the head center, and take your seat here in the cave center, like being a pilot in the cockpit of your pure awareness. And say inside this phrase, I've been using this lately to take us deeper. I am meditating. The command of it, that your awareness is awake and present to this meditation. And as you sense that third eye point or the cave center inside the head, feel your crown chakra open and connecting instantly to the soul. And that creates a line of light that continues upward and upward and upward and upward to infinity, all the way to Sirius. Through all the masters and teachers that hold those stations that keep the fields in harmony. In harmony. And just sense that spaciousness and sense that vertical axis as well. Raising your vibration so that you're vibrating with this more and more, becoming in harmony with the soul, where the soul and the self are one. The soul and the self are one. Good. And now we're going to move into the silence for some time. And I'm going to use a seed thought to take us in. And it is this. We are all interconnected. We are a one life. We are all interconnected. We are a one life. light. Receive this intelligence, this divine intelligence into your body being, becoming one with it, conditioned and informed by it, by light, light to light. The light of you touching the light of all that is. Feel your whole body changing, learning, intuiting, sensing, healing. Light. Like a downpour of light. And sense through your feet the mother of the world, through the earth, Mother Nature, earth. And feeling that as above, so below. As above, so below. Within yourself. And then using gently as we're starting to return from this high vibrational place, letting your body self assimilate and harmonize with this light as part of you that will inspire your path, that will heal yourself, that will bless your community. And so we'll use the breath just for a few times, breathing in, peace, breathing out, peace. Right? Just breathing in peace, breathing out peace, and go far, 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 everywhere, all over the world. Breathing in peace, breathing out peace. And just see this light of peace moving around the world where it needs to be. Just being the conduit of this peace by being peace yourself. I am peace. I am peace. In this moment, I am peace. Om, Om, Om. Good. So we'll close with the great invocation. Shall read or tell you. If you know it, you can say it too, or you can just listen to the alchemy of these words, followed by 3 ohms. From the point of light, within the mind of God, let light stream forth into all human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love, within the heart of God, let love stream forth into all human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the wise ones know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.
Thank you, Diana. So let's stay in this space that we have created together with the frequency of peace reverberating. Let me just draw the connection between equilibrium and peace. Equilibrium is not a concept. Equilibrium is a presence. It's said to be one of the avatars overlighting the spirit of equilibrium. It has another name, the spirit of peace. Last week was the International Peace Week, and here in the auditorium we held a peace vigil for 2 hours. Every 4 minutes we declared, with the peace pole in the center, may peace prevail on earth, may peace reside in me. I'd like us to continue that and conclude our meditation today by using that as a blessing, a threefold blessing. So as I sound the Tibetan bowl, and I will also say a slightly different affirmation, which is, may peace prevail on earth, may peace come alive in all beings. And as we hear those words, allow them to move from our heart out into the world. Remember, we are here to receive, to register, and to radiate. This is when we radiate. So I will sound the bowl after I have sounded the affirmation, and then use your breath and the heart pulse to send this wave out into the world. May peace prevail on earth. May peace come alive in all beings. May peace prevail on earth. May peace come alive in all beings. May peace prevail on earth. May peace come alive in all beings. Let's take a few deep breaths to allow that peace to come alive in us, so that we are messengers of peace in all that we think, say, and do. So from Meditation Mount, for those of you with us online, and for all of us here in the auditorium, thank you for being part of this planetary meditation. It is a service. It's one of the ways we can participate and be a positive force for good in the world. So on behalf of Kelly Jean, Diana, Joey, who's the production genius, and myself, Michael, and all of the beings that are the energy field of the Mount, deep gratitude. May we go in peace, and may peace prevail on earth. Thank you. Namaste.